Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Kirsty and this is Stuck in the Mud. As always, if you're finding my content helpful, please remember to like the videos and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. In today's video, I'm talking about 5 lies that OCD likes to tell us. Number 1 is something bad going to happen? And fear is really at the core of OCD. And for my entire experience over 40 years of living with OCD, it has really always been about if something bad will happen. And catastrophic thinking is, it's a major part of OCD. And this is why OCD will always keep you trapped and stuck, because life is hard. There's lots of ups, there's lots of downs, and we can't predict what's going to happen. And we constantly live in a state of anxiety and worrying about what could possibly happen in the future, and would it be our fault? Could we change something? And we're just mixed up with all these thoughts and feelings, and it's a really horrible place to be because we can't predict what will happen in the future. But OCD will just throw all these questions at you all the time of, well, what if this happens? What if it's such, it's just a common thing for us OCD sufferers to go through. We always throw up the what if this happens? What if this happened 5 years down the line? And we constantly will live in the future trying to predict and trying to weigh up what could potentially happen. And we will also feel a lot of guilt because we often feel like we are responsible and we are at fault or something happened because of us. And it's because we don't want to live with that uncertainty. I think at our heart, OCD sufferers are very sensitive, good people. We don't want, people we love to come to harm. We ourselves, we want to feel like we'll be okay and safe. And, we just want to have that assurance that things are going to be okay. But that's going to keep us trapped because no one can live their life with that kind of certainty. No one can. And we really do have to, leave that alone and just live in the knowledge that there will be upheavals in life, but there will also be wonderful times in life and hopefully more of the wonderful. But when we live in that state, we're just constantly looking for the worst possible outcomes. And, we can't live like that. It's impossible to predict and evaluate what could potentially happen in our life. We don't know. And I've lived a lot of my life like this, trying to predict and trying to prepare myself for every possible outcome that could happen in my life. And you know what? There's been some wonderful things that have happened in my life, and there's been some very difficult things as well. But that is life, and there's going to be ups and downs for everyone, no matter what you do. So no matter if you carry out that ritual, it's not going to change anything. And it's really taken a lot of acceptance around this, that we can't change this. We can't predict and come to any conclusion about this. And I think we do have to come to that acceptance at some point. And it's hard. It's really hard to do that. But it's a big lie for OCD to say that something bad will happen and potentially it's your fault. It's a massive lie, and it'll keep you trapped, and which is where you don't deserve to be, because all it does, it limits your life. And you're not having a good time because you're constantly living in a state of fear and not enjoying being in the present and enjoying the moment. Number 2, that your thoughts actually say something about you and who you are. Everyone gets intrusive thoughts, and there can be some of the most horrible things you can imagine, and anyone else thinking these thoughts would be like, oh, that was weird, and then they will move on with their day. They barely give it a second thought because it was just some random irrational thought that was just popped up in their brain. And everybody gets them. Even if they say they don't, they get them. Believe me, everybody gets intrusive thoughts. But the difference between an OCD sufferer and someone that doesn't suffer from this is how we react to them. And that is the big difference. You know, OCD will lie to you and make you believe that it says something about you as a person, who you are at your core, you know, who you are morally. And the fact of the matter is, these thoughts go against who you are as a person and the things that you value the most. And they can twist it all around and make you believe that you could be a bad person. And we delve into all these intrusive thoughts and, you know, question what it says about us. And when we do that, we're making it so much bigger than it really needs to be. This should be just a quick, flashing, fleeting thought that doesn't mean anything. But to most people, that's how they'd respond to it. But for an OCD sufferer, it's like we're missing the link, the connection where we can rationalize these thoughts. And I do believe that biologically we may be a little bit different, and scientists still don't understand really the full connection there. But there is something, I think, that's genetically different, and this is how we develop OCD, our life experiences, and genetically I think we're predisposed to it. And, you know, something can trigger it off, and we can then just get so wrapped up in our thoughts, trying to work them out, trying to rationalize, you know, trying to come to some kind of rational explanation. But the more we delve into them, they just get bigger and stronger, and our brain is taking note of the fact that this is important and this needs to be figured out. We need to come to some level of certainty over it. But, you know, it'll just get bigger and bigger, and then we can't leave it alone then, just because our brain realizes that this is important and it needs to be worked out, when in fact it doesn't. We're sending the wrong message to our brain. It's just the way we're responding to these thoughts. So once we can become aware that we're getting hooked into these thoughts and we can leave them alone, they will fade away on their own. It takes a lot of practice, especially if you've been in this, you know, if you've been in this cycle for a long time, the OCD cycle. It takes a lot of unpicking and undoing to get to a place where you can just let those thoughts be there and, you know, get to a place that you deserve to be, which is just not having OCD control you anymore. But it takes time, but you can get there. And, you know, once we can recognize that these thoughts are coming in and we don't need to respond to them in the same way as we have been doing, you know, your freedom awaits. And that is the beautiful thing about this. You can get better, which is coming up. And number 3, just one more ritual, you know, just one more compulsion and I will feel okay. You know, we do things with OCD till they feel right. So we may decide to carry out a ritual, a physical ritual. I know when I was younger, it would be counting, and I'd have to count in a certain order. And I would often tap things till I felt okay, or I felt like I could leave it alone until it felt just right. But the problem with OCD is it never feels just right. You may get to a point where you can leave it alone for a little bit, but what will happen is, you know, we're all these physical actions we're doing, all these rituals, you know, we're making our brain recognize that this is important and it needs to be dealt with. So our brain's just thinking, I need to do this again. So you may have a bit of peace for a little while, but eventually your brain will kick in again and be like, I'm not happy about this. I need to go back over it and deal with it again. So it'll always come back. And this is the thing, we're sending out the wrong message. And I know it's difficult. It's not an easy process, this. But just one more ritual. Just remember that that's a lie. You're not going to feel better. And recognize that. Think, well, no OCD, I'm not doing that today, because you know what? You're going to keep me trapped there, and I'll be there doing it for the 100th time and I still don't feel right. I've been there. I've been there when I've done rituals and rituals time and time again, to the point I'm crying because I'm like, I really don't want to do this anymore. But if I don't do it, you know, something bad might happen. And, you know, you get to that point, like I said earlier, you feel like if I don't do it, something terrible is going to happen. And it's all lies. It's all part of the lies that OCD does to get your attention. It just wants your full, you know, your full attention, and it wants you to keep you there and keep you stuck. That is OCD's role, is just to keep you where you are. And it's not a good place to be for any of us that go through OCD. It just makes your lives so much smaller and so restricted and so isolating. It's a really lonely condition, OCD. And number 4, and this is something I really want to get across in my videos, is that a lie that OCD will tell you is that you'll never get better from this. And, you know, you're not capable of achieving healing. And it's just not the case. This is a big lie from OCD. You know, you'll feel like you're stuck and you'll feel so depressed and down because you just think there's no escape from this. I've been there before. You know, I understand how it feels. And it will make you feel like there's no way out, there's no escape. This is a life sentence. It really does feel like a life sentence at times, because you feel like your whole life is going to be dictated by your thoughts, you know, OCD, intrusive thoughts. It's just going to be constantly ruled, and you'll have to obey all the orders that it gives you. And it's just not true. This is a big lie from OCD. You can 100% get better from this, because I have achieved that, and I know it's possible. And I know that a lot of you out there that message me, you know, and I will see comments on my videos and people think that that's not achievable for them. But I really want to make that point to you guys that this is 100% attainable for anyone suffering from OCD. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of patience to actually get to a point where we're not doing everything OCD commands anymore. And it takes a big leap of faith to do that. I'm not going to lie. It's not easy. But once we test it out and we take these risks that, you know, we're going against what OCD is saying. It's a bully. OCD is just a big bully. It lies. It's a big bully, and it just wants to keep you where it wants you, which is obeying all its demands. Now, it's a good way to think about OCD as a bully, and it will make you believe that you can't actually break out of this cycle, and that's why it just goes round and round and just gets bigger and stronger in it, and it becomes a way of life. You know, for me, over the years, it's definitely become my way of life. It's just my comfort zone, because that's all I knew really, from being a young child of 5 years old to being an adult, and it was the way I lived my life, so I didn't really know any different. And it's only really when you realise how much control it has over you, and it really took me to some really dark places over the years, that you recognise that this is just controlling everything, and it's not a pleasant way to live. It's very debilitating for anyone going through this. I know the pain it causes and the distress on a day-to-day basis. You know, you can lose the ability to completely function at all, and I don't want that for anyone, because I've been there and it's not a good place to be. So never feel that this is out of your reach. You can 100% get better from this, and you can heal. But, you know, remember, it's not going to be an easy process, and it takes work, but it's valuable work, because it'll get you to a place where you're free from this and it's not controlling your life to the degree it was before. So just remember that. And number 5, I would like to say is, you know, it's the biggest lie that OCD I think ever told, because for me, this was just the one that I always thought, you know, how could you just even say that, OCD? Because it keeps you stuck. And it's very frightening when OCD says this. So the biggest lie I feel that OCD ever told to me was that this isn't actually OCD. You know, just hear that. This isn't OCD. You are a bad person. You know, you're just using OCD as a cover-up. You know, it's the ultimate betrayal. You know, you're like, really? You know, I can't deal with this. You're saying now that OCD is telling you that, you know, this is just who you are, you know, as a person. And it's the biggest lie ever told, because it just goes against everything that you are, to make you try and believe that you're a terrible person, you know, that you're capable of doing abhorrent things, you know, violent, sexual things, anything. It could be anything that makes you feel bad and, you know, feels a lot of guilt and shame about yourself. You know, it wants to make you feel so terrible that you're stuck with it and you question your whole reality. It goes to the ultimate thing. And I always feel like that is the ultimate lie that it will tell, because how do you work that out? You know, how do you make yourself believe that this is in fact, you know, a mental health disorder that you're suffering from, and this is actually just lies, it's OCD. And it did get me stuck for a while, but I think the more I recognise that, you know, I do suffer from this, you know, I've got all the classic symptoms of OCD. You know, I was diagnosed formally. I know a lot of you out there might not have the formal diagnosis. I didn't have it till I was in my 20s, as, you know, for myself. So even if you haven't got a formal diagnosis, you know it's OCD. OCD will lie, and it will make you try and believe that you're a terrible person when you know, and I think this is what we do know as well, you know, we know we're good people. You know, we know when we're not out to harm anyone. You know, it's the least thing we could, you know, we could never do it. We're not capable. Even when OCD will try and make you believe that you are capable of such horrific things, you know, it'll just make up lies. You are not capable of this. And just recognize, if you get that kind of thought, like, well, what if this isn't OCD? You know, what if I am actually a terrible, awful person? Just remember that statement in itself is a lie. You know, it's just to keep you stuck, and that's all it's wanting you to do. You know, I think we know, and I do know, when I was going through bad times with this, that ultimately I know that I'm a good person, but OCD is the doubting disorder. It's just the classic doubting disorder. It wants to keep you where it wants you, which is in its cycle, its never-ending cycle, going round and round, trying to figure everything out. So we have to respond to all of this in a different way. You know, we have to recognise that, you know, we have OCD. This is difficult, and we have to have a lot of, you know, compassion for ourselves. Be kind to yourself. You know, this isn't an easy thing to go through day to day. It's really hard. I've had some horrific times with this. I know that things can get better, and I want you to hang on to that and know that that is it's possible for you. You can do this. It takes a lot of work, and I hope my videos are helping you to do that work and realize that we can let those thoughts be there. I've got lots of exercises that I've used myself in my healing journey, and I know that you can use these exercises too, to realize we don't have to engage with these kind of intrusive thoughts, to not engage with these rituals, these urges, whether that be a physical ritual, by the way, or a mental ritual like a compulsion to do rumination, which is basically just, you know, we're just mulling over all the thoughts, trying to work them out, trying to come to some kind of certainty. So I talk a lot about the tools in my other videos. I really hope these are going to be helpful things for you to use and use on your healing journey. And I'd like you to let me know in the comments if any of these lies speak to you. You know, which ones have you gone through and how it's affected you. So thanks for watching today, and I will see you in the next video.